We first brought you the story of the MIAC report, the Missouri Information Analysis Center, back in March, when the intelligence report was sent to law enforcement agencies throughout Missouri regarding the modern militia movement. If you recall, the report of the government of the state of Missouri sparked outrage, as it suggested, among other things, that those who support third-party candidates, states' rights, the Second Amendment, the right to life, and libertarians such as Congressman Ron Paul may want to overthrow the federal government by force or violence. Following the backlash from the report, the state of Missouri and its law enforcement agencies actually apologized and retracted the report. Or so we were led to believe. Joining us now is Michael Ferguson, board member of the Missouri Republican Liberty Caucus. Mike says there's an active push to continue this type of profiling. Mike, welcome back to Freedom Watch.
Well, thank you, Judge. Thank you for having me back on.
Mike, what happened when the report came out? We all know about the rhubarb and the hullabaloo. Were there public hearings at which people actually testified to the horrors that were visited upon their right to expression by law enforcement in Missouri?
Yeah, what happened was the Speaker of the House formed an interim committee to investigate it, and there were 4 hearings all around the state. And there was a lot of turnout. The interesting thing, Judge, just alluding to what you were just saying, the state apologized, said it was wrong, said it was inaccurate, retracted it, said they'd never do it again, and yet in the last 2 hearings, there was what I can only look at as an organized turnout of law enforcement defending the report. So, you know, we have to make sure that we end up with legislation that changes the actual policy, and fortunately that has been recommended by the committee.
Did you or anyone on the committee endeavor to learn the identity of the author of the report or the documents or data or information upon which that author relied in preparing the report?
Yeah, the report was written by kind of a mid-level officer in the Highway Patrol, and the documents, where they got it from, we're getting mixed results as far as our request to find out where it came from. There have been some sunshine law requests. Those really haven't gone anywhere. Also, we found that a lot of, now I say we, there were some other groups that discovered that the text in the report was nearly identical to some materials on the website of the Southern Poverty Law Center. And the other, when I've asked just in public and also in private to the people in the Missouri Highway Patrol and the MIAC Center, they just keep telling me it's open source documents, and they won't tell me where they get their information. So the short answer is we don't know where the information is coming from, and we do know it was not vetted the first time around, and all we've got to go on right now is a promise that it'll be vetted in the future, and that's just not good enough.
All right, now you and I have talked about this before on air and off, but where do you really think the nonsense came from that returning veterans, people who believe in the right to life and are opposed to abortion, people who believe in the right to keep and bear arms, people who would openly support Congressman Ron Paul or the Campaign for Liberty or any of the many, many great libertarian causes in the country today, would actually be a source of violence or something for the government to worry about?
Well, the only thing I can figure, and this is just a personal opinion, is that it's simply a political agenda. It is an agenda to, you know, if not curtail our rights outright, make us less, you know, less aggressive in using them. I mean, and nobody wants violence. We all want the bad guys stopped. But the fact of the matter is that this has a chilling effect on those who want to get involved in the political process. You know, this has a chilling effect with somebody who may want to join a third party or support someone like Ron Paul or Bob Barr or the Tea Parties or a pro-life group. If they think they're going to be watched and they think police are going to look at them differently, that's got a chilling effect. And if that happens, the sides that oppose our viewpoints have a much, much easier task in changing policy and in doing away with our constitutional freedom.
Unfortunately, I think you're right on the mark. And when you use the word chilling, you basically mean that people will hesitate to express their views for fear of what the government might do to them. And you and I actually know of some instances involving people that we know who had their freedom curtailed. They were restrained by TSA agents or restrained by other law enforcement agents of the state of Missouri because of the freedom of expression that they exercised, whether it's a Ron Paul bumper sticker, whether it's a "Don't Tread on Me," or whether it's cash in a carry-on bag from the sale of Ron Paul's books. The federal government of the United States of America actually unlawfully stopped their freedom of movement and forced them to justify themselves in a manner that pleased the agents who stopped them.
Yeah, and then going through the TSA, it's bad enough you have to give up your Fourth and First Amendment rights anyway. You know, this just absolutely makes it that much worse. I agree completely.
Federal fusion centers, what are they? Where are they? What were they? Do they still exist?
Yes, they still exist. There are at least 49, if not one in every state. There's at least 49 or 50 of these. What these are is these are combined offices that combine the Federal Department of Homeland Security, the state law enforcement agency, whether it's a highway patrol or state police, whatever you call it, and then also involves local and county authorities throughout the country. What they're designed to do is be that kind of conduit where all the law enforcement agencies meet and jointly share information. What we're learning is that these are actually much larger in scope than that. They're also, put out reports like this. These are also coordinated efforts as far as law enforcement training, and the things on the surface sound fine. I mean, if there's a kidnapping in one part of the state, I want everybody in the state to be able to know so we can find the person that did it. But what we're getting to right now is we're getting bad information that's just going out that much faster.
And is the government in these fusion centers collecting information upon people on the basis of the political opinions that they express or any violations of statutes that they commit?
Well, it certainly looks like the former. I mean, when you look at the MIAC report that started this entire controversy, it sure looks like, it's not looks like, it has to do with your expression of your political opinion. That's the danger, and that's why we're doing a disservice not just to the citizens, but if we're teaching, the police, watch out for the guys with a Ron Paul bumper sticker or a "I voted libertarian" bumper sticker or "I'm the NRA and I vote" bumper sticker, we're moving their attention away from the people who are really dangerous, and we're doing it politically. We cannot politicize the police, and that's what we're doing with this. We're making everybody less safe by doing this, by injecting politics and paying attention to our political opinions instead of when someone violates a statute.
Right, because the police are off looking for people who disagree politically with the establishment rather than looking for people that would actually harm our liberty or our property. Well, where do you see this going? How does this end? What's coming up next in this saga that we've been covering for 6 or 8 months now?
Well, I talked to one of the members of the committee, and I talked to the chairman just yesterday. The committee report, which I've sent to you, your producer has it. It recommends that the state of Missouri take a number of steps, and they're actually pretty good steps. One is to define what the legal parameters and the authority that the MIAC has and limit it. The second is to renew, the statement that civil liberties are just as important as any notion of public safety, because public safety, that becomes a political term. And it calls for oversight. Now, we were pushing for legislative oversight, someone who is directly accountable to the voters, someone who is elected to be responsible for the oversight. We may get them to push for appointed oversight, which is not as good, but at least it's oversight. Here's the problem, Judge, is that I was told by one of the committee members that he's really worried that this may get dropped and it may not make it through to the full House.
Somehow.
So we're working with a couple state representatives who are hopefully going to pick it up, not let it die, and push it through. And as soon as we've got someone to stand up and say, "I'm going to take this, I'm not going to let it die," then I'm going to let you know exactly who it is so we can applaud that person and give them some support. But where we're at right now is it's going to be an issue in the 2010 legislative session, which here in Missouri starts in January and goes through May.
Right.
And we have to get an actual law passed that's going to put parameters on MIAC and limit it to only what it's originally designed to do, and that is simply allow different law enforcement agencies, when a true threat happens, to get that information out.
Right. We want you to keep monitoring this for us, Mike, because we want to follow this story. Mike Ferguson, it's a pleasure. Thanks for joining us on Freedom Watch.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you for all you do.
Of course.
And it's a warlike country. Come on. I mean, forget foreign policy. Even the domestic rhetoric is warlike. Everything about our domestic policy invokes the thought of war. We don't like something in this country, we declare war on it. The war on poverty, the war on drugs, the war on crime, the war on AIDS, the war on cancer. We got the only national anthem that mentions fucking rockets and bombs in the goddamn thing. You know what I mean? All right.
It's not about justice, it's not about agenda, it's not about mobilizing people, it's about dialing for corporate dollars. These two parties have sold the U.S. government and the American people to the highest bidders.
The United States of America is a terrorist base of operations.